4 years ago, when a doctor named Skins, who was nearly as smart as Einstein, invented a painkiller called Habna. The reason for Habna's spread in the market was its low price and the fact that it had no side effects. It became the center of global conversations and freed people from all kinds of suffering, being described as the world's saving medicine. However, 3 years later, Skins suddenly disappeared, and no one knew his whereabouts, revealing that Habna was a huge trap set for the world. We shift to Northport Prison, where an inmate named Axel is approached by a woman named Hasho. Her assistant waits outside in the car, listening to music. The guard approaches Axel, informing him he has a visitor. Axel, who was exercising, then goes to meet Hasho. He asks her to remind him who she is, to which she responds that it's their first time meeting face-to-face today. Axel remarks that no one visits him unless they are a lawyer or an assassin. Hasho tells him to consider her both, and introduces herself, saying she wants something from him. If he answers her question, she will get him out of prison, which surprises Axel. He asks her how long is his sentence, and she tells him it's 888 years, essentially a life sentence. She explains that she knows everything about him, his birthplace, professional and medical records, and even his shoe size. Axel responds that he is pleased and asks what she wants. Hasho asks Axel if he knows Habna. He confirms that the topic is even spreading inside the prison. She then asks him if he knows about the crime that happened, and shows him a video on her phone, which is a few minutes long that has gone viral. It's about Dr. Skins, who disappeared 3 years ago. In the video, Dr. Skins says that if they don't feel pain, it's equivalent to being dead. He also mentions that humanity is on the brink of death because of Habna, which is now heavily relied upon by people who are focused on maximizing profits in a short time, engaging in a never-ending struggle among themselves, and continuing to destroy the environment, leading to the suffering and death of many. As a doctor and scientist, he has come to a useful conclusion. This is the truth of humanity, and the human race must face a harsh punishment. He informs them that he didn't develop Habna just to ease pain, but to remain in the body for 3 years before mutating and causing death. It becomes impossible to expel it from the body. He does not want their lives in his hands, but he plays the role of the seventh trumpet, nothing more. He predicts the first victims will fall within 30 days, and tells them he has a cure for this, but one of them must find it within 30 days to save humanity, leaving the decision to them. Skins' words cause panic in the streets, and students express that they do not want to continue their education. Hasho tells Axel that Skins once sought peace and equality. Axel asks, "And now he's become a devil upon his return?" Then the guard returns to Axel and tells him that visiting time is over. Hasho asks Axel to find Skins. That's her request. Before Axel leaves with the guard, he asks Hasho if she knows everything about him. She replies, "Of course." He asks if she knows he has a terrible habit of escaping from prison. The guards tell Axel to hurry, but he pushes the guard and tells him there's no need to rush, which angers the guard. The guard draws his weapon, but Axel manages to hit him, knocking him to the ground. Axel takes the guard's weapon, points it at Hasho, and asks one of the other guards to unshackle him. Once that's done, Axel runs to escape, continuing to move from floor to floor. Although several guards try to catch him, he jumps from the upper floor and continues to flee, avoiding the guards' blows while delivering strikes to them, so they can't catch him. They almost corner him, but he jumps to another floor. When he lands, one of the guards is waiting for him and grabs him. Axel, however, does not give up and fights back, managing to break free from the guard's grip. The guard tries to hit Axel, but Axel succeeds in knocking him down before continuing his escape while avoiding strikes from the other guards. He climbs high until he reaches an exit, pulls out the gun he has, and fires until he creates an opening to get out. He jumps through the opening and ascends to the roof of the prison, continuing his escape. Meanwhile, Hasho's assistant receives a call from her, informing him that Axel has escaped. She asks him to bring the car, saying Axel has transformed into a bird that flew out of its cage. The assistant moves quickly. We shift to a student named Leland, who has been protesting against attending school due to the imminent threat of death from Habna. A girl named Chris approaches him and asks how he is. She tells him he looks good, and he confirms he is indeed happy. She asks if the world's crisis makes him this happy. He responds that this isn't the reason. He enjoys not having to go to school anymore and not being obliged to do so. Chris hits him and calls him a fool. Then she spots a cat and tries to approach and grab it, but the cat moves away from her. Chris says it's not cute. We switch back to Hasho and her assistant, who asks Elena to monitor police communications and the GPS system. The assistant remarks that the police might have killed Axel. Hasho says that's unlikely, as it's not that simple. We transition to Elena, who reports that the police haven't found him yet. yet. We then look at a newscast showing that people are rioting, causing destruction and fires while broadcasting live from high officials, urging people to calm down and behave properly. There are also programs hosting a prominent doctor who informs the public that the government cannot produce an antidote for Habna within 30 days. All of this has impacted the collapse of the economy, leading people to engage in riots and prepare for wars among the populace. The pharmaceutical company has banned Habna from the markets and ceased its production and distribution to pharmacies. Next, we find Axel walking happily through the city when a police officer approaches him, asking about his attire. The officer jokes about whether prison clothes are trending now or if he is escaping. Axel laughs and replies that they are indeed fashionable at the moment, and questions whether anyone would go through all this trouble themselves. He then starts joking around with the officer. The officer acknowledges Axel's point and advises him to head home due to the ongoing riots. After the officer departs, he receives a phone call informing him about the escape of an inmate named Axel, with plans to send his photo. As the officer is receiving the message, Axel changes his course, heads into a clothing store, and changes clothes before moving to the train station, going to another city. We shift to Hasho's office, where her boss tells her that the situation has worsened. Since they learned she is investigating the matter, they have left no trace behind. He tells her they must maintain complete confidentiality. Hasho inquires about the development of Habna, and he admits that the situation is very difficult and time-limited. She insists they must find Dr. Skins. He responds that's the current state of affairs and asks about their last member. She informs him that he escaped, but she is determined to catch him. The boss says he is their last hope of finding Skins. Next, we find Axel, who has arrived in another city, at the train station where the devices have recognized him and released his photo, urging him to surrender without resistance. Axel, however, does not comply and escapes again. The police try to block his way by closing all exits and attack him. Axel evades them, running towards an escape route. Following him, police devices begin tracking Axel. We shift to Elena, who has pinpointed Axel's location and informs Hasho's assistant, but she stops him from moving, indicating Axel is running through deserted areas. Meanwhile, Chris announces that she will go to him and greet him. We switch back to Axel, who is being chased by police but continues to escape, leaping between buildings and sliding down from high places. We see Leland visiting the cemetery, while Hasho's assistant waits for him. Leland gets into the car with him, and the assistant asks Elena to provide Axel's path. We return to Elena, who says she will send it right away. Back to Axel. He continues to flee, entering a building to avoid being caught by the devices. He jumps from one of the windows and strikes one of the devices, causing it to be destroyed. Returning to Elena, she confirms she has sent them his location, and Hasho's assistant suggests Chris should go first and compel him to head north. Kiss asked, "Can I shoot?" The assistant replied, "Go ahead, but don't damage any property." We move to Axel, who was still running away, moving from place to place. He almost fell from high up in the streets, but saved himself. After that, Chris shot at him to change his direction. When she did that, Hasho's assistant hurried to him. When Axel reached the end of the road, the assistant was right behind him and told him to stop and end this show now, asking him to raise his hands. Axel said, "So you're the one who brought me to this spot, right?" The assistant replied, "I won't die before I see your face. At least tell me your name." The assistant told him his name was Douglas. Axel said, "Then write this on my grave. A man died at the hands of a coward named Douglas who shot him from behind." Douglas said to him, "You're provoking me to fight you up close," and told him this was his end, saying no one has wings to fly either. He asked if Axel wanted to try. Axel jumped from the top of the building and grabbed Leland's helicopter, which led to him landing on the big car. After that, he caught the pole on the road and came down to the ground. Chris took a picture of him and got closer, saying, "You're amazing." Axel replied, "Honestly, I was running away." Chris said, "It doesn't matter," and asked to take a picture with him. When she got close, she electrocuted him, which caused him to lose consciousness. We moved to Hasho and her crew. Axel woke up from his unconsciousness and was looking around when he came to, not knowing where he was. Elena was hiding from him because she was scared. Then the rest of the team came in, and Chris said to him, "It's good to see you awake." Axel replied, "I saw all of you in my sleep." Douglas told him, "No, we were with you before you fell asleep." Hasho appeared on the screen and told him that she finally met him. Axel said to her, "I don't know you. Who are you?" Hasho replied, "We are Lazarus," and said, "We welcome you with us." Axel tried to get rid of the bracelets on his wrists, but he couldn't do it. Hasho told him that he couldn't escape from them and that they could track his exact location through them. Axel looked at the hands of everyone around him and said that they were a group of bad people. Hasho then told Axel that she wanted a favor from him. She wanted to know the location of Skins. She informed him that he could continue to run away or gain his freedom by finding Skins. Axel then made his agile moves, took a Chris weapon, and aimed it at her head, asking Hasho to remove the bracelets from his hands. She told him that she wouldn't be fooled a second time, which led to an electric shock hitting Axel, causing him to drop the weapon. Hasho then warned him that if he removed the bracelets, his hand would be burned completely, and she told them all that they would suffer if anything happened to her. Axel replied that he'd wanted to meet this man, Skins. Hasho said that was good and urged him to join everyone else as they moved on to a press conference led by the president. The president told them that no one knew what was going to happen. Next, they moved to Skins' house and had an interview with the gardener who worked for Skins. They asked him if he knew anything about Skins' whereabouts or if he wanted to share anything. The gardener replied that he didn't know anything and that he was just taking care of the garden. They asked him if he had seen or heard anything before. The gardener mentioned that they had buried a cat in the garden named Moby and laughed a lot. We moved to a television program hosted by a famous girl named Lisa. The host told her that she would be releasing an album of songs next month, but no one would be able to listen to it due to what would happen over the next 3 months. Lisa agreed, saying he was absolutely right, but no one from the audience would come to watch this show either. Next, at Hasho's headquarters, Axel asked what they would do if they found Skins. What about taking his treatment, selling it, and making money? Douglas said they weren't here for profit or personal gain. Chris asked Douglas what they were there for. He replied that it was to save the world. Axel chimed in, saying they were like the Avengers or something like that. Chris added that they were superheroes. Douglas said the most important thing now was to look for Skins. Axel said he wanted to know something important without any embarrassment. Had any of them used Habna? Everyone raised their hands, including him. After that, Douglas informed Axel that this was their operations base until they were sure about him because he opposed joining them. Axel asked Douglas if he didn't think this place was a bit rundown for world-saving heroes. Douglas replied that he had disguised himself in an old-fashioned way, and then he took Axel to another place and asked him to extend his hands to open the door. When Axel did so, the door opened, and Douglas told him that they had scanned his hands while he was sleeping. Next, we moved to their meeting room, where Douglas introduced them to the target, Skins, stating he was born in Istanbul, had no children or wife, and both his parents had died, leaving him alone to this day. He told them that Skins had attended several higher universities and had been nicknamed the second Einstein. Chris asked if they should talk more about his personality. Douglas explained that Skins had won 3 Nobel Prizes but donated them to charities. He was reportedly very humble in his life, and even gave up patenting the drugs he developed. Hasho interjected, noting that he was a very famous activist who participated in all peace protests and was a strong supporter of climate change. He attended many environmental summits and also spoke at the United Nations, urging countries to do more in his speeches, one of which was among the most important he delivered in the United States. In that speech, he warned that in 3 years the snow in the Arctic would melt, and that would be the beginning, urging them to act quickly to avoid losing control. However, many countries did not take his speech seriously, leading them to leave the conference. After that, he disappeared without leaving a trace. Chris remarked that he seemed like a real person but also had some wicked actions. Leland commented that he was a very ordinary person and then asked Douglas if there were any eyewitness reports online. Leland said he hadn't seen any, but there was one thing. Skins was helping the poor and gave his subway seat to an elderly woman. Leland remarked that he seemed like a good person in general. Axel added that he believed this man was a saint. Douglas questioned why this man wanted to destroy the world if he was good. Hasho concluded that regardless, no information had been found since his disappearance 3 years ago, and it appeared that no one could pinpoint his location anywhere. Axel asked, "Do you want me to believe he was in one place this whole time?" Leland mentioned he might be dead, while Douglas suggested he could be assuming a different identity. Chris speculated that he could be in some kind of disguise. Elena chimed in, claiming she thought she found something about him. After that, each pair took their respective cars. Hasho mentioned that Axel and Chris would head to a shelter to search for Skins, while Douglas and Leland visited their offices. "And you, Elena, try to reach out to as many surveillance cameras around the world as you can if possible, and then run facial recognition on Dr. Skins," she was told. Elena responded, "Sure," and started her task. Hasho added that if Skins changed his appearance, this plan wouldn't work, but they had no other option. We moved to Chris and Axel on their way. Chris asked Axel if he was in prison, right? She inquired about how many years he spent there. Axel replied, "I think it was up to 888. Suddenly, Chris stopped, aimed her gun at Axel, and told him to get out of the car, calling him a crazy person. She told him she wouldn't drive with a criminal like him, explaining that she got those years when she killed someone and asked how many people he had killed. Axel tried to explain, telling her to calm down, and questioned if she knew the government doubles prison sentences for those who try to escape repeatedly. He told her he was originally sentenced to 3 years, but due to his escape attempts, the number climbed to that ridiculous figure. Chris asked Axel why he tried to escape. He confessed, "I think it's my favorite hobby." Next, we turned to Douglas's and Leland's car. Leland asked Douglas why he wore those things on his wrist. Douglas queried Leland if he wanted to know. Leland said it was just curiosity and asked if he had done anything bad. Douglas replied, "No, not really. I was exiled here due to some trivial offenses." Leland responded, "Offenses, really?" Douglas then said, "Enough about me. Now it's your turn." Leland replied, "There's nothing crazy about his story, just a few petty thefts." Douglas commented that he thought Leland was a petty thief, but that Elena was not of the same category. Leland asked if he was right, and Douglas informed him that she was a notorious hacker who committed crimes on a global scale. Leland noted that she was always quiet when he was around her. Douglas remarked that she might be the biggest asset in the team. Then they each moved to their designated locations, starting to check the area and search for Skins. While they looked for him in the 2 locations, we transitioned to Chris and Axel. They found someone sitting in a chair, unconscious. Axel asked Chris if this was Skins. She replied that it could be him, but he had undergone plastic surgery. Axel was about to wake the man, but they heard sounds of approaching individuals and gunfire erupted. Axel returned fire, and Chris remarked that they were Russians. Axel asked her if she understood their language. He also believed there were Mexicans present. Chris questioned Axel if he really enjoyed this. Axel replied, "Is it that obvious?" Chris then asked him about the necklace he was wearing. Axel explained that it was a lucky charm and that as long as he had it, he felt invincible. He then attacked the gang, firing at them, which astonished Chris, who commented he was unnatural. She fled from the gunfire, and Axel also escaped from the gang's aimed shots but managed to hide from them. After that, he counterattacked, taking down some of them. He then encountered another man as he was escaping, took the weapon from him, and eliminated him as well. Shortly after, he nearly got hit by gunshots, but Axel dodged the bullets. He rejoined Chris, and they fled together, encountering 2 more gang members, whom he also took down. Finally, he sprinted towards a man he believed to be Skins, but the police arrived, ordering him to stop. Axel told them he was one of the superhumans too. Then Chris turned on the lights, and they woke the man, who began to cry, begging them not to kill him. Axel checked the man's nose for blood and performed an analysis, proving that he was not Skins. Axel and Chris exited the area, and Axel called Douglas to inform him about everything. Chris commented that the place resembled a circus, and a group of police arrived, making it impossible to distort this information. Douglas and Leland moved to another place in search of Skins. Douglas approached the computers and said he thought they had been working recently. Leland wandered around to explore the area, but a man pointed a gun at him and motioned for him to be quiet, which scared Leland a lot. Douglas then aimed his weapon at the strange man, but the man told him to relax and lower his weapon so that his friend wouldn't get shot. Douglas did as he was told. Then the strange man asked Douglas, "Now tell me, where is he?" Douglas responded, "Who do you mean?" The strange man replied, "Just tell me what you know so that none of us gets hurt." Douglas told him they didn't know where he was. The strange man said, "Keep pretending to be stupid. I know how you all cooperate with each other." After that, another man joined them, pointing a weapon at them and introducing himself as Dange. He said he wanted to see Kobashi now because he owed him money. He got closer to Douglas and said he knew Kobashi was there and wouldn't leave until he got his full payment. Douglas said, "Hold on," and asked, "You're not here for Skins, are you?" The strange man, who was aiming a gun at Leland, asked Dange, "Who are you?" Dange replied, "I'm a debt collector." The strange man said, "I'm also a debt collector," but they both realized that none of them worked for Kobashi. They sat down together, and the strange man said to Leland, "I thought you were working with this guy," referring to Douglas. Dange said to Leland, "Are you also looking for Kobashi?" Leland became friends with the 2 men, and they laughed together. Meanwhile, we shift to a man resembling Dr. Skins who said, "My life has been one big gamble, and all I wanted was a chance to change my life for the better. I didn't know I would hit rock bottom, so I took a drug thinking I could speed things up and finish it all. But I think this is a sign for me a new beginning." He felt hopeful, but then remembered that knowledge would end in 30 days, leaving him feeling hopeless once again. We then switch to Elena and Hasho, with Elena saying that she found Skins, but there's a lot of him in the world. Elena continued searching for Skens, and Douglas said he believed someone had hacked the surveillance systems and changed a lot of the face to Skens. Elena agreed and told them they'd done a good job of it, mentioning that they had changed the polygons and thermal imaging. Axel asked Elena if she thought Skens was behind all this. She replied that she didn't, but she knew 3 hackers who could do that and execute such a task. She informed them of their names: the popcorn wizard, Dr. 909, known as Wolmara, and the last one was herself, which led to Leland's astonishment. Douglas said he thought one of the other 2 was helping Skens, and Hasho asked Elena if she could find them. Elena assured her she was working on it, and Hasho commented that surveillance cameras were no longer an option, but this gave them one clue that Skens had undergone cosmetic surgery to change his appearance, otherwise all this would not have been necessary. Douglas then said that somewhere out there was a face just like his. Hasho asked Leland and Chris to search Skens' house. Afterward, Douglas claimed he had a lead and wanted to follow up, so they drove off. He told Axel that there was a man named Claude Klein who had been his mentor when he worked in the lab at college, and in the past, he had been involved in some projects searching for Skens, and they might be able to get some evidence from him. Axel said this was disgusting. Why was he paired with them? Douglas replied it wasn't out of love for him and asked him to do his job, stating he would do his as well. Leland and Chris went to Skens' house and told the police they were from the Klein family. Leland informed the police they were there to clean Mr. Skens' house. The officer told them, "Haven't you been following the news? The homeowner is missing." Leland replied they had been informed payment would be made in advance. The officer said he had also been told not to let anyone in. Leland remarked that they would have the bill sent to them instead, annoying the officers. Leland further informed them there was also a cancellation fee. If they approved it without finishing their work, they would be charged a considerable amount. Next, we moved to Stanford Hospital, where Axel and Douglas went. Axel asked Douglas where his mentor was. Douglas told him he had retired, and they had no information about him. There was a rumor he had become homeless. Axel responded that if that was the case, he could help him find him. Douglas replied that would be great. We shifted back to Skens' house, where Leland and Chris were passing through the police, and Chris told Leland she was not the type to hide from anything. Leland asked her what she was doing before she joined them. Chris replied that she had traveled around the world as a secret agent. They then entered Skens' house. We moved back to Douglas and Axel after going to a homeless shelter. Axel told Douglas he knew the head of the homeless, who was a former jailmate named Jerry. He approached, but Douglas did not walk with Axel. Axel asked Douglas if he was scared. Douglas answered there was nothing to make him fear anything. When they approached, Axel gave him a light punch and told him not to pretend to be strong in front of him. Then we switched back to Chris and Leland as they searched for any evidence to help them locate Skens. Back to Douglas and Axel. They were searching for Jerry, Axel's friend. Each of them asked different homeless individuals, but no one directed them to Jerry. Then we returned to Chris and Leland, who showed signs of exhaustion from hard work and intensive searching. Leland said there was nothing useful here. Chris replied, "Of course, because the police had already searched it and demolished the place." While Chris was putting her hands under the seat, she found a pill from a treatment. Leland asked Chris if this was for warts. She replied she didn't think so and believed it was a treatment for warts. Leland said, "Are you joking?" She confirmed she was just kidding. We transitioned back to Douglas and Axel. One of the homeless said to Axel, "You're not one of us, are you?" and told him that Jill was the one running things there. Axel asked, "Who is Jill?" The homeless person pointed out she was directly behind him. When Axel looked back, Jill surprised him, hugged him, and told him she hadn't seen him in a while. Axel told Jill he had missed her too and mentioned how she had turned into a woman. Jerry replied that he had indeed become a woman and called himself Jill. Axel told her he was happy with her new look, to which Jill responded that she missed him and hugged him again, making Douglas feel disgusted. We then moved to Jill's tent, where she asked Axel if he still thought he was in jail. Axel answered he was out again. Jill asked if it was an escape. He replied, "Kind of." She then asked what brought him there. Douglas said to Jill they were looking for a person named Claude, and that he had been told he could be found here. He almost showed her his picture, but Jill signaled Douglas not to do that. Jill informed Douglas that she was a transgender woman with a criminal record, and had also gone bankrupt. She noted this was not a rare story, and mentioned that some people were happy about the end of the world even if they said so. Those people had circumstances that forced them to come here, so good treatment means not digging into anyone's past. Douglas told Jill that when he was an academic researcher, a man once said to him that there wasn't a black Einstein, and it was impossible for people like them to win a Nobel Prize no matter how hard they tried. He ended up hitting him. The man was the university dean, and Douglas was expelled due to his actions. However, Dr. Claude defended him until the last moment, and to this day, he hadn't thanked him. Jill then asked Douglas to see his picture. We transitioned to Dr. Claude, who who was playing chess. Douglas helped him win, after which Claude asked, "Is that you, Douglas?" Douglas replied it had been a long time. Then one of the homeless people challenged Axel to a basketball game. Claude and Douglas then moved to Claude's tent. Claude remarked to Douglas that he thought he would be surprised at how he had ended up. Douglas replied that he needed help from him and wanted to know where Skins was, asking if he knew where he might be. Claude said he had not talked to him in years and didn't know his whereabouts, also noting he didn't know humanity would end one day due to the drug he invented. Douglas insisted any information he had would be very helpful. Claude told Douglas he believed Skins was a good man, who others saw like that, but he was obsessed and blindingly focused on everything around him. This had made him a nuisance to everyone he worked with. It was exhausting, and he knew he couldn't deal with it, so he cut ties with him. But when he saw Skins rising to fame, he felt jealous and desperately wanted to surpass him and leave a mark on this world. This frustration drove him to falsify his research results, leading to his expulsion from the university. He concluded by mentioning that once, he and Douglas had a discussion about baklava. Douglas reminded him it was an Eastern sweet. Claude explained that Skins had told him his grandmother made him the best baklava in the world, praising it for its magical recipe and saying no one else could make it like her. He mentioned she lived somewhere in Istanbul, but he didn't know if she was still alive or had passed away. Douglas thanked Claude, expressing his gratitude for defending him before. Meanwhile, Axel was in a challenge and won against the homeless man. Douglas approached Jill and asked her if she knew Douglas before. Jill replied no, they had just met recently. She told him Axel was one of those people who can adapt anywhere easily, even in jail, but he suddenly disappears. She said Axel was a real puzzle. After Axel finished winning against the homeless man, he asked Douglas if he had found the evidence he was looking for. Douglas replied, "Of course." Axel then said goodbye to Jill, who also bid him farewell, asking him to come back again. They moved to Hasho's headquarters, and they were looking for anything that could lead them to Skin's grandmother. Elena told them to look at this and informed them that she had found a place called the High Crime Zone, where there were no cameras or data available. Douglas said it seemed like a special hiding spot, and Skins could be there. Leland pointed out that they might be walking into a trap, and Chris said this couldn't be denied. Axel suggested they should go see for themselves. Elena mentioned that it took 6 hours to get there and told them to take the hypercube to Istanbul. Hasho said this was their only option. They traveled using the hypercube and arrived in Istanbul. Leland said they finally made it, and Axel asked Leland why he was dressed like that. Leland explained that he was told it would be better to disguise himself since the place wasn't safe enough. Axel asked if he thought it was true. Leland replied that it was, and then Axel left him and they set off to explore the city. There were people lurking around, and we returned to Hasho's headquarters. Elena told Hasho that they were dealing with people hiding their identities, so she laid out some floating traps and monitored all transactions passing through the node point. She conducted a false disassembly of the multiple compression functions of the hash algorithm. Hasho told Elena she needed to explain it to her in simpler terms. Elena responded that they were bait. We shift to Axel and Leland, who while wandering around the city, were surrounded by some criminals, causing Leland to panic a lot. However, Axel told Leland to run to save his life. The criminals attacked them, but Axel fought back and hit them a few times. After that, he took Leland and they ran away, but the criminals were chasing them. Axel managed to grab a moving car and helped Leland get in. They then jumped from the top of the car while it was moving. While they were escaping across the rooftops in the city, Leland fell into one of the houses. The criminals caught him, intending to rob him. One of the criminals brandished a hatchet, but Axel came in and started hitting the criminals, taking them down. Just as the criminal with the hatchet was about to strike Leland, he said they had come there to eat some baklava made by Ms. Belinda. Upon hearing this, the criminals immediately stopped and began listening to them. We moved to Hasho's headquarters, where Chris asked Douglas what's up with the Istanbul team. Douglas replied he hadn't heard anything about them. Chris inquired if they were dead. Douglas said he didn't think so because their indicators suggested they were still alive. Chris asked why Hasho chose Leland to go with Axel instead of the rest of them. Douglas answered that Leland seemed to be a descendant. We switched to Istanbul, where they went to Belinda's house. Belinda opened the door for them and told them they were the boys who came to meet her from outside the city. Leland responded, "Of course." After that, Belinda served the criminals some sweets, which made them very happy, and they left. She then invited Axel and Leland in, and presented them with the baklava they had requested. They ate it and loved it a lot. Belinda asked Axel if he could introduce himself. Axel asked her not to tell anyone that they were secret agents. Belinda inquired if he meant like James Bond. Axel confirmed that it was something like that and said they accepted transparency these days. Belinda asked if they had permission to kill. Axel responded, "Of course," which surprised her. Belinda said they were there for her grandson and informed them she hadn't seen him in many years and that she hadn't hidden him, but nobody ever asked. We switch back to Hasho, who said that patience is a virtue. We returned to Belinda's house, where she told them that Skins lost his parents when he was young, so she raised him. He was an ordinary boy, a crying child with a good heart. There was nothing odd about him. Regardless of the years or the chaos he caused, he was still the grandson she raised. Leland mentioned he had seen the flower before. Belinda replied that Skins brought it for her, and she thought it was a rare kind of tulip. Axel asked Belinda when was the last time she talked to Skins. She told him about 3 years ago and said he had sent her a video. She made them watch the video, where Skins told her he hadn't been able to visit her because he was busy, but he wanted to come to taste her baklava and asked her to take care of herself until he could visit her. Leland said he didn't think this kind of man would commit a heinous crime. Axel started searching the place and said he believed Skins was watching this area to check on Belinda. Axel found a surveillance camera and said, "Hey Skins, I know you can see me, and I want you to remember my face because I'll come and crush you." We switched to Elena and Hasho. Elena told Hasho she had captured the criminals and discovered that the missing wallet belonged to Dr. 909. She said it was time for destruction. Hasho said that Dr. 909 is one of the most dangerous hackers in the world and told them that the FBI couldn't locate him, but thanks to Elena, we managed to find him and identified his hidden wallet. I asked Chris, "What is his hidden wallet?" Douglas said, "Think of it as a digital currency bank account." Hasho said that when we searched it, we found an unusual flow of funds. Leland asked, "Is that real?" Hasho said, "It's a huge amount." Right before the Skins announcement, stock trader Sam deposited a large sum, Douglas said, into Dr. 909's account, and apparently, he had prior knowledge that Habana's stocks would crash. Chris said he sold a lot of them before the news was released. Elena, the Skins plan started 3 years ago when he disappeared and erased all his traces. I doubt any first-level hacker could have done that. Douglas said, "So this guy, Dr. 909, helped Skins disappear in exchange for information about Habana, then collaborated with Sam to pull out the profits before the crash." Hasho said, "That seems like the natural conclusion." Axel said, "So all we have to do is catch Dr. 909. Hasho said, "Elena will keep monitoring the wallet for any new moves, and the rest of you, go search for Sam. It's very likely he's communicating with Dr. 909. Douglas said, "This is Sam," and showed his picture to the rest of the team. Leland said, "He's the stock trader." Axel said, "He's just another wealthy investor." Chris said, "Definitely not a fan. I think he's rich and stupidly arrogant." Douglas said, "He thinks he's a big star and keeps women waiting." Leland said, "Why don't we search for him online?" and showed a video of him taking the Habana stocks and telling them there's nothing to worry about while celebrating with everyone. He also said this thing is the only thing he likes to keep in his private club and that it's one of the sharpest things there. This made them feel disgusted after watching the video. Axel asked, "So how do we even meet these fools?" Douglas said, "Sam holds a party every week at his club and picks a new girl to join him. That's how." When they arrived there, Leland asked, "Why are you dressed as a woman?" Douglas said, "Just to be safe. We don't know what type of girl this guy prefers." Axel said to Leland, "I think this outfit suits you well," and moved closer to him. Douglas asked them to stop joking around. Chris said, "It's impossible they booked Visionar as the DJ tonight." Axel asked, "Is he famous?" Leland said, "Don't you know him?" Chris said, "Time to have fun." Douglas said, "Remember what we're here for." We switched to Elena, who ran into a problem and asked Hasho, "Elena, what's the issue?" Elena told her it was about the deposit locations from the past 2 weeks, showing her the places. Hasho said, "These deposits happened everywhere in the world." Elena added, "And more than that, they were made through ATMs." Hasho said, "That means he used someone else to make these deposits for him and avoid being tracked." Elena said, "That doesn't make sense. He has to meet them in person to pass the access device." Hasho said, "Anyway, the cameras on the ATMs should have caught someone making the deposits." Elena said, "Okay, I'll try to look into it." We switched to Sam's club. Douglas said, "We're going in now to carry out the mission as 2 teams. Obviously, we can't bring any weapons." He told Chris and Leland their job was to attract Sam with a dazzling show, and if they managed to get in contact with him, lure him to a secluded spot. Leland asked, "And if he doesn't choose us?" Axel said, "We'll go to plan B, which is to hit him hard." Douglas said, "There is no plan B," and told them they were on his turf, and the last thing they want is to scare him into running away because of trouble they caused. When they entered the club, Chris went to dance, and Leland hid because of his outfit. Axel tried to go upstairs, but was stopped by a guard because he didn't have the digital tattoo needed to enter. After that, Axel joined Douglas. Douglas said the security was very tight. Axel said, "It seems the VIP lounge is upstairs, and you need the digital tattoo to enter." We switched to Hasho and Elena. Elena showed Hasho the man who made the deposits, and it was clear he was the same guy. Elena said, "But none of them show their face." so I can't identify them. We move to Sam's club, where Chris asks the bartender for a drink. After that, Axel joins her, and Axel asks Chris to slow down with the drinks. Chris tells him it's just the beginning. Then, a man sitting next to them orders a drink, and Axel notices the digital tattoo on his hand. Axel follows him. Chris asks the bartender if Sam will come tonight. The bartender says it's hard to know, but from time to time the owner himself shows up. Chris says she wished she could take a picture with him. The bartender whispers to her that Sam always appears with the DJ and that they arrive here by private plane. Chris thanks him. Then, we move to Axel, who lands a hit on one of the digital tattoo owners and takes the tattoo from his arm. Next, we move to Leland, who is still hiding. Douglas approaches him and asks why he doesn't stand out. Leland says he doesn't know how to dance, so Douglas asks him to dance with him and asks if he can dance. Douglas says, "Of course I can." Then they head to the dance bar, where Douglas manages to attract attention. We shift to Chris and Axel. Chris says she danced a lot but didn't even get an invitation. She was surprised to learn that Leland was invited. Axel says that's funny and guesses people think Leland is more handsome than her, which makes Chris mad at Axel. Then Sam arrives on his plane. Chris joins Leland, and they enter the VIP areas. Next, we move to Elena, who tells Hasho that the wallet just made a new transaction. She asks Hasho where it is, and Hasho says it's in Babylonia, which is very close to them. Back to Sam's club, Sam introduces them to DJ Vinshar, the party's coordinator. They all welcome him, causing the women to scream with excitement. Douglas says it's good that they've connected with Sam. Axel says, "When's it our turn?" Then Chris introduces herself and Leland to Sam and the coordinator, and they sit down with them. Chris asks Sam about the stocks and if they're making money. One of Sam's friends says they have AI handling all the trades for them. Sam says the Delta stock is dropping. One of the women explains it's because of Habna. Sam says he thinks so and adds that women don't understand anything. He also says Skins is amazing. Chris asks one of the girls, "Aren't you afraid Habna will kill us?" Sam replies, "Why be afraid? There will be another cure for it, and it will save us." Sam's friend adds, "And we'll make millions off it too." Sam says they always do this. He hugs Chris and Leland, assuming they're girls, but Leland steps back. Chris says he's very shy. The coordinator says he likes that, then asks them to go somewhere private and they leave. Sam says it's time for drinks. Axel and Douglas go up to the VIP floor. The guard stops them, but Axel shows him the digital tattoo, and they're allowed through. Next, the coordinator talks to Leland, saying he doesn't like the other girls because they're naked, and he doesn't care about them. He says the person he likes is someone nobody has ever touched before. Leland tells the coordinator that his set will start soon. The coordinator says he leaves all the songs and such to the AI, and he doesn't care about music at all. The only reason he's a coordinator is because the girls like him. Then one of the workers tells the coordinator it's time for his special show. We move to Elena, who finds the man handling the deposits. She asks Hasho where he is now, and Elena says he is in Babylonia City. There's footage from the last half hour, showing the man going up to the roof and heading to a helicopter. Elena tries to take a picture of him but can't get a clear shot from the front. The image is distorted. Elena says she succeeded anyway and that she's seen this man before. Hasho says he's the coordinator. Elena says that makes sense because he's always at parties traveling around the world, and he handles all the transactions. Then we move to Axel and Douglas as they almost reach the upper floor but are caught by the guards. One guard asks them where they got the digital tattoos. Then we shift to Sam, who tells his friends the women are chasing money, so that's why he did what he did to them with his special punch cup. He tells his friends to do whatever they want. Then Sam moves closer to Chris. She tells him to stop getting close to her. Sam says, "Don't worry, you're in my private club, and the police would never come here. I'll make sure the punch makes you forget everything," Chris says to Sam. "So, you like preying on women?" Sam is surprised because Chris isn't affected by his special drink. Chris tells Sam that his cheap party drugs don't affect her. She hits him, then gets closer and slaps him. Then she hits him several times more, and finally kicks him, causing him to fall off the roof onto the coordinator below. We move to Axel and Douglas after they discover that Dr. 909 is the coordinator. Axel and Douglas take down the guards with some blows, disarm them, and grab their weapons. Leland also escapes from the place. Sam says to the coordinator after hearing gunfire, "This isn't good, let's get out of here." Next, we switch to Chris after she takes down one of the guards. She then saves Leland from being chased by another guard. Then Douglas exchanges gunfire with the guards and disappears alongside Axel. Axel tells them that Sam and the coordinator are trying to escape by plane. Leland says he will get the car immediately. After that, Sam and the coordinator get on the plane. Axel and Chris try to catch up, but they're held back because they're busy taking down some guards. Sam orders the plane to take off. As it lifts off, Axel runs fast, jumps, and manages to grab onto the plane. Sam, watching this, says Axel must have watched a lot of action movies. Chris says Axel is crazy. While Axel hangs onto the plane, Douglas and Leland follow him in the car. Sam requests the plane to get rid of this man, but the plane refuses. This angers Sam. Then Leland sends a small drone from their car to help Axel. Just as Axel is about to crash into a crane, he manages to slip away, but the plane waits for him and saves him. Axel tells Leland to head toward Sam's plane, then pulls out a weapon from the drone. While Sam and the coordinator think they got rid of Axel, he reappears aiming the weapon at them, which makes them angry again. Sam again asks the plane to crash into Axel, but the plane refuses again, making Sam even more furious. The plane tries to collide with Axel, but he dodges and shoots at the plane, hitting it and causing it to crash into the water. Axel approaches them and points the gun at Sam, who says, "I'll give you whatever money you want, but don't kill me." Axel says, "Okay, but tell me where Skins is." He tells Sam to spill everything or face an attack. Sam asks the coordinator if he knows anything. The coordinator says he has no idea. Sam asks how he made all the money he has. The coordinator says it's because he hacked some data from Delta Company. Axel tells him to give that information, but the coordinator says he can't. Sam takes the information from the coordinator and gives it to Axel. Then Axel leaves using his small plane. After that, Sam is arrested on insider trading charges, along with the hacker Dr. 909 for leaking information. We move to Hasho's headquarters where they're following the news. Douglas says Dr. 909 has nothing to do with Skins. Hasho agrees, saying he's not involved. Elena says, "Now we know Delta knew about the dangers of Habna," which means, Axel says, these people are connected to Skins. Finally, we move to an experimental lab full of monkeys. There are many monkeys, but one of them has died. We moved to the president's house, and he was sleeping. After that, he woke up, threw the phone, and hit the walls, which led to it breaking. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters, and Douglas said that Dr. 909 had hacked into the Delta data leaders. There, he learned about the Habana threat, and more importantly, that Delta was responsible for the secret experiments on Habana. So, it's likely that Delta knew exactly how dangerous the drug was. Douglas showed them an image as part of the evidence. DeLand asked Hasho to look at the image, and she said it was among the pictures they took from 909, and she had no idea what it was. Axel said, "What if the company is conspiring with Skins? Then all the experiments could be fake." Douglas replied that it was possible, and the summary here is that he might be connected to Skins. Elena, do you have anything new? She told him that she hadn't found data from the secret experiments, but she found something strange. She told them about a person who was uploading music from their servers weekly to an audio site called SoundCloud. Chris said it could be a music lover, and DeLand asked, "What's strange about that?" Elena replied, "Well, listen to this." And she played them a clip, but they didn't understand anything. Douglas asked Elena to open the clip in another program, and when she did, strange files appeared. Hasho said after getting closer to the screen that these were the secret files of the experiments. Douglas asked, "Can you tell the difference?" She said, "Of course, at a basic level." Chris questioned, "If so, why are they encrypting the experiment data and then uploading it to social media?" Elena explained because they want it to reach someone who prefers to stay hidden. DeLand said, "So this person." Chris interrupted, "It's Skins." Axel said, "We now have a lot of documents on them, so let's go welcome them." Afterward, they went to the Delta building. Chris said, "There are no tall buildings to jump from to reach them." DeLand used his spy plane, but it failed because they had a jamming device. Douglas mentioned they have an underground parking lot and that it's not connected inside the building. While Chris continued monitoring, she spotted Axel on his way to the building, entering easily, but it caught the guard's attention. When he got to the elevator, the guards approached him and got in with him. Inside the elevator, they searched him thoroughly. He said to Douglas, who was outside the company, "I can't believe he went there alone and even went up." Then we switched to the elevator, where Axel was in a constant fight with 4 guards. The fight took a long time, but Axel eventually took them out alone. After that, he exited the elevator and went to the president, putting the phone against his head from behind, asking him not to move. He also asked him to disable all security systems for his sake. The president said, "I can't do that," Axel insisted. "I told you, please." Then the president canceled the activation of the security system. After that, Axel sat in front of him and showed him the experiments on the screen, which surprised the president, who asked, "Who are you?" Axel also video called his friends. Douglas told the president, "We know you uploaded it online." The president asked Axel, "What do you want from me? Money?" Axel said he wanted to know Skin's location. The president replied, "No one is more desperate than me to know where he is. He hasn't disclosed his location to us before, and we had no means to contact him, so we had to go through all this trouble just to send the data." Douglas asked the president, "Did you know Habana would mutate?" The president said, "And becomes toxic?" "No, we had no idea about all this." Douglas pressed, "How does this help us?" Yes. The president asked him, "Are you sure he is a killer?" Before we conducted any experiments on humans, we performed experiments on a type of monkey, and one of those monkeys recently died, its eyes turning a distorted color resembling a starry sky. He told them humans would soon undergo this experiment. Douglas asked the president, "Can't you create an antidote?" The president replied, "We have allocated all our resources to do this, but even the R&D team doesn't know what to do, and I swear Skins is the embodiment of the devil." Axel said, "If he is the devil, then we are the angels who will put him in a cage. I'm tired and bored of chasing Skins to lure the devil out." Then we moved to Hasho's president, who was reading an announcement from Delta regarding an urgent conference about a Habana treatment. He said to Hasho, "This invitation was sent to prominent doctors and researchers?" Hasho replied, "Of course, this happened. Once Skins knows someone has developed an antidote for Habana, he will definitely come to verify its authenticity." The president said, "If this conference is fake, I think you are luring Skins out to catch him when he appears." She responded, "Of course." The president stated, "The committee will conduct its inquiry soon," then asked her if she had heard about it. Hasho replied, "Of course," and told him they need to show some solutions soon, or we will be in a significant position of weakness. The president remarked, "In this case, we cannot let him fold or forget." We moved to Delta Company, where there were many guards for the conference. Then we shifted to DeLand, who said, "This antidote seems real." Hasho told him that each of these vials contains a tracking system in case anyone tries to steal them. We moved to Douglas, who asked how they could get in. Axel suggested they might break into the building from the outside. Douglas replied they could sneak in like they are invited protesters. The president of Delta Company said their private security company had searched the building and conducted a full scan to check for listening devices. The guard stated, "There are 50 security personnel including me on maximum alert, and we have also checked 50 security guards, so it's hard for Skins to place a spy among us." DeLand commented, "If we attract Skins' attention and if our hacker gets into the system, then what?" Hasho said, "Here comes Elena," and Elena explained that Delta has one of the primary networks for handling secret information and another network for managing all vital building processes. Chris asked, "What's the connection between them?" Elena answered that the primary network located here is isolated from all other communications, and the wall is protected, so no wireless signal can pass, and smartphones didn't know about it and needed to use ordinary phones. DeLand asked, "Is it possible for the hacker to surrender?" Elena said, "No, the stronger the security, the less the hackers can resist. Plus, we attracted them by leaving the primary network accessible from the outside." Hasho said, "Things are about to start," and asked them to prepare well. Axel declared, "Come on, Skins, let's celebrate now." Then we moved to Delta Company, and many researchers and doctors came in one after the other. They asked them to hand over their smartphones, but a doctor forgot to submit his phone, which caught attention. Douglas asked Hasho, "Who is this?" She answered, "It's Dr. Patrick." Douglas inquired again, "Is he connected to Skins?" She told him he was under his supervision. Douglas said, "Then it's better to keep an eye on him," and Douglas followed him to the stage. Next, we switched to the president and asked him, "Doctor, are you feeling better now, Mr. President?" The president replied, "Of course, I'm sorry for your worry about me," and informed them he had fallen into a deep depression because he saw Skins as the devil. "But these men told me that we must fight regardless of anything, and I agreed to follow this advice, but I just forgot how to fight well. I had the best sleep I've had in a long time last night." After that, the conference began, and President Ahmed thanked them for attending. He knew they were busy, but he wouldn't take much of their time and told them they had found a treatment for Habana. While he was spreading the news, Hasho's teammates were already in their positions. We switched to Douglas, who passed by someone heading to the bathroom. Then we moved to Elena, who said, "An alert has been triggered, and someone is attempting to pass through. The source of the attempt is the North Pole." Hasho asked, "Are they soldiers?" Elena replied, "No, they are fakes. I'm tracking multiple access points from all over." Then the power went out at the conference too. Elena said this room has a special generator, so there's no problem, and informed them that the network had not been breached yet. Elena stated that the perpetrator is inside the building and asked anyone to go check the breaker room now. DeLand said, "I'll go," and he left. Axel questioned, "What about the person in the bathroom?" and he immediately went after him. Douglas told security to monitor the exits and not let anyone out and asked Chris to come to him. Axel checked the bathroom, but the man wasn't malicious. We then moved to DeLand, who stated, "There's no issue in the breaker room." After that, one of the attendees ran toward the antidote and injected himself, declaring, "Now I have been saved," and Hasho said, "Get him so we can find out who he is." Douglas did that and told them, "I didn't make you despise the treatment alone, you fools," and we moved to Axel, who continues searching. After that, a girl broke into the building and disabled everything inside, but Elena fixed everything again that we see. However, the girl took control of the air conditioning and made the weather very hot. After that, she breached the core and Elena said, "We are under attack from 50 locations." Hasho said, "Does this mean there are 50 hackers?" Elena said, "Not 50 hackers, but 50 devices." She added, "We are being hacked because of the wireless guard devices." We moved to Axel. Axel asked one of the guards, "Is this device connected to the outside?" The guard told him, "No, these modern devices don't have any of that functionality. They are only for communication between us. The old devices used to have that functionality. The manufacturing company contacted us to hand over the new devices." Axel said, "So if this was the hackers' goal and all they wanted was to get these devices into the building." We moved to Deland and Hasho. Deland said, "If they breach the main network, we'll be in danger?" Elena said, "They swallowed the bait and tracking has begun. In case things get worse, I planted a fake Trojan file in the central computer, and we can use it to locate the hacker." Douglas said, "Lose the battle to win the war." Elena said, "But the main network is still under their control, so be careful." The doctors and researchers began their attempt to get Chris out of the building, and the robots disabled Axel's movement. Elena said, "I found them. They are located in the Islamabad Stock Exchange in Pakistan." Hasho said she would contact the local authorities to inspect the place. Douglas said, "Every stock exchange in any country has a fortified network infrastructure. If it's breached, enough bandwidth is exposed to allow the hacker to launch a massive cyber attack." We moved to the Islamabad Stock Exchange. When the police arrived, the hackers immediately left. The police informed Hasho that no one was there. Elena said, "They are moving now, but how can they move with that much data traffic from up in the mountains?" We moved to the hacker girl after she escaped from the police. She grabbed her computer again and said, "Let me see this cure." She said, "I think everything is fake, just as I expected," and then threw away the computer. Elena said, "Unfortunately, they escaped." She told them that she was sure they parked their mobile base near the stock exchange to distract us. Chris said, "This means we've lost the battle and the war." After that, Elena received a call from the hacker, who calls herself Popcorn Witch. She said to her, "This is so great, big salute to you," and told her that she was very close to uncovering her. "This is really impressive." She then hung up. Elena tried to keep her on the line, but didn't succeed. We moved to Hasho's base where they found a book containing info about Skins, who visited one of the colonies 15 years ago. Skins was very talented in his youth, successful, and known for his philosophy and many achievements from a young age. That colony is now a new religious group called the Tower of Truth. They worship an artificial intelligence beyond the concept of a living being, and follow it because it lacks any human desires. This seems suspicious, and they've cut off from society, living self-sufficiently off the land. Although Skins might be alive in this world, we doubt this place is his ideal destination. Some believe Skins is still there, others don't. Elena might be able to connect with their AI to learn everything, but their AI, named Naja, is completely isolated from the outside world. She knows this because she grew up there. Then they decided they might stealthily enter from the outside if they can't access it openly. Elena might return to them, and they may accept her back if she wants to live with them again. She'll do this mission alone, which could be risky, but if someone older comes with her, they might be suspicious. If it's a young person, it's less likely to be a threat to us, especially Leland. After that, they split into two cars and headed towards the Tower of Truth. They told each other if they find Skins inside, they should try to communicate. If they don't find him or can't communicate within 72 hours, the others will come to help since they'll be staying nearby overnight. They then went inside, where Elena's old friend, Hana, welcomed her. Elena introduced Leland to Hana, who also greeted him. They kept walking until Elena met Carl, whom she knew from before. Carl greeted Elena and confirmed the outside world was full of sins and filth, so she was sure she'd return. Then Billy, the leader, came to greet them and welcomed Leland as a new family member since they arrived during the Holy Festival. They moved to their rooms, had their phones taken away, and were told these devices were flawed. The outside world is full of false info that can easily deceive people, but they didn't have to worry because Naja would take care of them here. It wouldn't take long to get rid of the outside thoughts planted in their heads. Night came, and they went to sleep, but Leland woke up and went outside, with Elena following him. They couldn't find any signal to contact their team because of interference inside. Meanwhile, the rest of the team stayed at their base, and Douglas contacted Hasho, requesting a list of researchers who visited the Tower of Truth during Skins' time. The federal security moved quickly, making it hard to gather information, but they would try. Douglas ended the call, left his room, and talked with Chris about Elena and Leland, worried because no messages had come from them yet. They decided to wait since there was no other option. It was hard to worry though, since they were Lazarus members. Axel kept training to maintain his physical fitness. Back to Elena and Leland, Hana took them on a tour inside the tower. They showed them practicing their crafts, and explained they are fully self-sufficient. They offered them food and started talking about life outside needing lots of money, which is the exact opposite of their life here. They clarified to Hana that not all jobs are money-free, like searching for people, which is very tough. Their chase chased by others, threatened over debts, and even disguised themselves as the opposite gender, but they're still pursued. It was time to eat, and everyone gathered around one table, thanking Nadja for the food. They also offered food to Leland, who hesitated to eat it, but Billy encouraged him to eat so he would become part of the family. When Leland ate, everyone applauded, and Billy told them Leland would receive a reward at the next ceremony. Back at the rest of the team's base, they met Nadja and got information about it. 15 years ago, MIT developed an AI that mimics human behavior, built on human neural networks. The model it's based on is Skin's model, who was considered the next Einstein at the time. They programmed the AI to have desires for control and recognition. However, there is a secret agent inside the Tower of Truth from the FBI, and Skins might be there. They have to move fast before the FBI does. Then we moved to the Tower of Truth, and while they were performing the rituals, Leland and Elena went outside and agreed that they would look for records related to Skins. However, Hannah learned about this because she was listening to them without them seeing her. Night fell, and they sneaked into Naga's place and cut the power, but they didn't cut the main power to Naga. When the guards went to fix the electricity, they entered Naga's headquarters and hacked into the internal systems to get information about Skins. While Elena searched for information on Skins, Leland kept watch. Elena downloaded the local drives from Naga and the entire memory, but then the connection to the devices was cut off. Billy and some guards appeared to arrest them, but Leland tried to escape with Elena. They were surrounded by guards, and Carl and Hannah also showed up, telling them that the outside world still affected all of them, and that they would be cleansed at the upcoming festival of the sacrament before Naga. Next, we shift to the rest of the team at the shelter, who obtained a file containing information about Billy, indicating that he was one of the researchers when AIT was with Skins, and that he was a leader in the Tower of Truth, obsessed with Naga. He had taken Naga from MIT without permission and established this cult. Then the cult cut all communication with the outside world, and became an institution created to control and dominate humans. However, this Naga is a copy of Skins, and he might want to destroy the world like Skins. We then moved to Leland and Elena after they were thrown into prison, wondering about the upcoming Purification Festival and what it was. Elena didn't know about it since it didn't happen when she lived with them. The purification involves taking people to a place where no one is, akin to exiling them. Then Hannah came to them and told them that those people are burned to be purified, and they will be burned alive. After that, their bodies will be disposed of, so that the world doesn't become tainted again. When Elena tried to persuade Hannah to help her, Hannah refused because she was here in service to Naga. Although she wanted to be like Elena, she endured life in this place and was angry because Elena escaped on her own without taking her with her. Then Elena tried again to persuade Hannah, telling her they might escape together, but everyone in the Tower of Truth denies the outside world and doesn't know anything about it. Elena was scared at first, but when she tried it, it became easy. But Hannah was unaffected and nearly left again. However, Leland told her about the smoke signal in his bag if she had the courage to light it. We then transitioned to the next day when the sacrament began, and Leland and Elena were tied up in front of the fire. When they were lowered into the fire, Hannah ran quickly and threw the smoke signal next to the fire, which caused Axel to see her and move quickly. Then we returned to the Tower of Truth. When they saw the red smoke, they entered the tower. Billy pressed the button to break the seal and activated it, claiming this time was a journey for their souls. The rest of the Lazarus team then arrived and saved the remaining team members, but the fire was fully ignited inside the tower. Everyone was ready to die for Naga, and the fire was fully lit, and Billy was also killed and burned. Then help came from the federal office, and they extinguished the raging fire, rescuing some people from inside. Leland tried to thank Hannah, but she was sad because she felt she had betrayed her people. Then Axel entered and found Naga destroyed. He picked something up from the ground and asked Naga why he wanted to kill his followers. Naga almost left but responded that he received instructions to be their leader and to mess with human lives freely. However, in reality, he was an out-of-control machine. Next, we moved to Hasho's headquarters, where it was announced that a group of humans was rescued in Naga. But what is the reward for the artificial intelligence that did this? No one believes that an AI programmed to dominate and control was behind this, and they are trying to recover any internal data from Naga. Finally, we shift to Elena after she went to sleep next to Chris because she feels very scared. The next day, Chris was amazed by Axel's skills because he was 23 years old, though she thought he was 28 or 29. Douglas was also the same age, which surprised Chris again, as she thought Douglas was 40. Leland wanted to know Chris's age and guessed she was 30, but she didn't answer him. He told her he could call her ma'am, which annoyed her, and she pinched him. They finished preparing the food, and Axel used the fire gun after fixing it. He aimed it at the food, causing a fire. Elena came to them and asked what happened. Then they gathered together and watched news about the last piece of ice breaking off in the North Pole. Leland showed them a video of Skins correcting his statement, explaining that all the North Pole ice would melt. This video was from 3 years ago and had recently gone viral again on social media. Axel saw that all of Skins' predictions were coming true. Leland told them they started following Skins as a role model, but Chris thought they described him as a terrorist. Douglas believed this could cause a third world war. No one cared about the Habna problem anymore, but if Skins was right, deaths would begin within 15 days. Chris joked that a world war would reduce people more than Habna, but Leland objected to her joke. Hasho came to them saying they should start now, and that their research had returned to square one. Even the FBI agents who attacked Truth Tower didn't find anything related to Skins, and the founder Naja was artificial intelligence designed on Skins' brain pattern. However, the FBI concluded that the man himself wasn't involved in anything. Chris asked about the next step, but Douglas thought it was time to go back to the beginning, and they should take another look at Skins' video. They moved to watch Skins' video, then Chris stopped it and asked what was the seventh trumpet that Skins talked about. Hasho knew it was something from the New Testament recorded in historical books containing information about the future. Douglas completed the rest of the information about future events: meteors, volcanoes, wars, and their effects, all caused by human arrogance. Douglas went to see the analyst after the analysis was completed. Then we moved to a group of people riding a boat in the sea, sailing somewhere. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters, waiting for the final output of data created by Naja. Leland asked if this was like Naja's dying message. Hasho thought this was a way to try to pass a message in the end. Chris joked again, and Douglas objected to this joke, telling her to take the matter seriously. Axel thought it was a phone number and searched for it on his phone. Hasho also thought it might be a code, and Elena searched for it too. Douglas thought it might be map coordinates, but when Axel called the number, it turned out to be a store and the number was wrong. Elena found something, but didn't know its meaning either. Douglas discovered they were geographical coordinates in UTM format, often used by the military. He showed them the 4 locations they pointed to, and the others were surprised that they were all in the sea. Hasho discovered these cities had sunk in the last decade. Elena searched and found that Skins had bought land in all these places right before they sank into the sea. Hasho wondered why he bought them, but Axel suggested they weren't getting anywhere and asked them to go on a trip to Skins' sea resort. Then we moved to Hasho's leader, who was communicating with her in a video call. He asked Hasho about the possibility of Skins hiding in any of these places. Hasho thought it would be difficult to find him there, but she was confident there was a reason he bought all this land. However, there was a problem because these lands disappeared due to global warming, and they didn't get much evidence. Then we moved to Abel, Hasho's leader, who is with Liz on their way to Rembrandt's party because Rembrandt's works are Abel's favorite and he enjoys listening to them. Liza saw Abel as sensitive, while people described him as a cold-hearted realist, and thought he was artificial intelligence, not human, which surprised Abel because it was the first time he heard this. After they arrived, Liza told Abel not to let emotion kill his career, but Abel didn't need reminding because he hadn't forgotten. Then we moved to Elena, who is trying to connect between the island and Skins' location. Then we moved to Douglas on his way to one of Skins' lands. Douglas's car broke down, causing him to get out and continue on foot. He met some people and communicated with them in sign language. Then we moved to Elena, who succeeded in finding something important. Then we moved to Axel, continuing his journey, reaching the boat harbor and renting a boat to sail. Then we moved back to Elena, who prepared drinks and snacks for relaxation time. Then we moved to Leland, who wants to rent a yacht to sail in his city. Then we moved to Chris after she also requested a yacht to sail to her island at her own expense. Then we moved to Elena, who is now informed about each of the 4 individuals at their locations. Everyone began moving to their designated locations and informing each other. Leland began asking if the Lazarus party would be dissolved after finding Skins, and that he would feel sad when this happened. They dived to Skins' submerged lands to search for any clue to reach him. Chris started to believe Skins wanted them to see nature from a different perspective. Then we moved to Axel, and when he boarded his boat, he found the boat driver was injured. Axel asked how he got injured. The driver told him the injury was from fish when he tried to catch one, but he didn't feel pain because he was created without moral sensitivity. And not just him, but everyone there. Axel discovered the driver didn't take Habna either. Axel shared this news about the boat with his colleagues and told them the driver remembered Skins visiting the city when he was young. The driver told them they didn't have any money at that time, and Mr. Skins came and bought the island for them, giving them enough money and a new life. Douglas asked Elena to track the money spent on the other lands Skins, which made Douglas angry because he couldn't understand Skins. Then we moved to Hasho and Abel. Abel told her Rembrandt was called the Master of Light because he was a painter who knew the truth of things depending on how they were illuminated. Hasho wasn't interested in this talk and wanted to know what Abel wanted to discuss with her. He apologized because he knew her feelings towards Skins and considered that he had exploited this, but no one forced Hasho to do anything. She told him not to worry about her as she made the decision, but she wanted answers to many questions. Abel told her that regarding a prison in Arizona, the army started investigating the matter. Hasho asked if he meant Axel. Abel said, of course, and in addition to the Schiphol airport incident, but Hasho believed Axel was capable of revealing everything. Then we moved to Elena, who told them Skins visited this city 15 years ago as part of a fundraising campaign, following the same steps in the other islands. He bought the land and gave the residents a lot of money to move to start a good life elsewhere. Douglas thought the reason, which was the lack of feeling physical pain, was the origin of the Habna drug. He asked Elena if she knew where the donated genes were studied. Elena told him at the LaHaye Institute, but this place was closed after the Habna incident. However, Elena would try to find the names of those who worked at this place during the same period. Then we moved to Axel, wondering if Naja knew what Skins was doing on these islands, and that he saw Skins as a father. Then we moved to Leland, who said they feel like they're living Skins' life at the agency by searching for him. Axel expected Skins wanted them to do exactly this, feel what he felt by following his footsteps. Douglas thought they were still dancing in the palm of Skins' hand. Then we moved to Abel and Hasho. Abel thought Skins sold his soul to the devil and turned into another person, but Hasho denied this because Skins was very honest, almost to a fault, and this world wasn't a suitable place for him. When she told him that, Skins said to her, why can't the world be honest? But she's sure he wants someone to go and find him, and Abel believed this too. Then we moved to Elena, who found a data archive containing a list of researchers associated with the LaHaye Institute. Then Elena found someone they know well. Then we moved to Chris, who also met the same woman and tried to pretend she didn't see her, but the woman grabbed her from behind and welcomed her, causing Chris to feel afraid. Chris was apprehended and restrained. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters. Everyone returned except for Chris. Leland was worried. The atmosphere was gloomy and he asked about Chris. Hasho was about to tell him that Chris had been captured, but Douglas interrupted her. He asked her first to talk about the development of Sixen's Lee Habna at the Hague Institute, even though they knew it had been shut down. He asked Elena to do some investigations to find out who was working there at that time. He also showed them that Mrs. Hasho was among those who were there and that she was a close friend of Sickness. Everyone was surprised by this, and Douglas asked Hasho for her opinion on the matter. Hasho expected that someone would discover this information sooner or later, and admitted that she was indeed there at that time. But before the medicine was completed, Sixes disappeared without a trace and didn't say a single word to anyone, and she was devastated because of this and left the institution shortly after. 3 years later, when he returned from isolation, Habna had become a deadly drug threatening to destroy the world, and they couldn't understand its molecular structure, which was the worst part of it. Then Douglas asked Hasho who she was working for now. Hasho bet that Douglas could guess the answer to his question. Douglas stated that she was working with some important special teams under the management of NSI. Hasho confirmed that he had guessed correctly and that Junaid had sent her because of her conflict with Sinxes. Axel then thought that she was just a scapegoat for them if something happened. Then Leland asked about Chris again because he wasn't following the issue from the beginning. Then we moved to Chris. One of the gang members came to her and Chris asked him where they were, but the man let her guess. Chris told her that it was very cold. She smelled oil, and she heard seagulls, so she was on an oil platform in the Arctic. This impressed the man, and he approached her and slapped her because she was one of them, and now she was a traitor and deserved to die. He inflicted several blows on her. Then the leader intervened and ordered him to stop and asked him what he was doing. The man told her that she was trying to escape. After the leader approached Chris, she told her that she was happy that she was still alive. Her name was Anga, and she also told her that she had been waiting a long time to kill her with her own hands. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters. Elena located Chris and discovered she was in the Arctic. Hasho assumed she was there because the oil platform was part of a Russian spy network and served as one of their hideouts. Douglas explained to them that she had been captured by Russian agents. Hasho thought that if she remained out of contact for 3 days, her bracelet would automatically activate to stop her blood flow and end her life, which scared everyone. She was set up this way because she wanted it that way, and her real name wasn't Chris. She was an agent in the Russian Special Forces, and she abandoned them, then changed her face and name, and became a member of Lazarus. She was fully aware that in order for them to trust an agent like her, she had to be willing to risk her life. Then we moved to Chris. Anga recognized her despite the many surgeries she had undergone, anyone, but her eyes could be easily recognized, and she still had the same stubborn look as before. She remembered 3 years ago when it was announced that she had died in an airport accident, but no one found her body and she knew she had to find her. She told her that she was now waiting for someone to help her, but no one would help a traitor like her. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters. Douglas thought that time was passing and a whole day had passed without anything being done, but Axel thought that they should bring her back before time ran out. Hasho objected because they would meet Russian agents, and she might have betrayed them. Douglas asked Hasho if she wanted them to abandon Chris. Then Axel headed to Chris, and the rest followed him immediately, leaving Hasho behind. Then we moved to Chris. She confirmed to Anga that she didn't know where Sixes was, and told her that all the agencies in the world were looking for him. Then the guard, Sergei, called Anga outside, and when they went out, Sergei asked Anga to report her to be returned to her homeland, but Anga refused and said that she would deal with her here so that things wouldn't get complicated. Then Anga received a call and left, but Sergei went back to Chris. But Chris provoked Sergei because he had been reprimanded by Anga, which angered Sergei and he attacked Chris and hit her. Then we moved to the rest of Chris's team, and they were at the airport, but flights to Chris's location were cancelled due to the weather and all roads were closed. Then Douglas received a call from Hasho and she asked them to stay where they were and told him about sending a plane to pick them up as soon as possible, and that she had contacted the Norwegian government because they had a facility and Elena could use her computer magic from there. Douglas confirmed to her that they were ready to go. Then Hasho told them that they would be outside the official protocol, of course, and that she didn't want to lose Chris any more than she already was. Then we moved to Chris again. Sergei threw water on her to wake her up and berated her again, asking her to be obedient. Chris provoked him again because he was hitting a woman tied to a chair, which angered Sergei again. Then the plane transported Douglas and the rest, and Douglas began to monitor the place from afar. Douglas thought that Elena couldn't reach the place. Elena told him that the oil platform had no external connection and that it was connected internally to each other, so as soon as it was turned on, she would be able to reach them. Then we moved to Axel and Leland, and they were very close to the oil platform. Everyone began to prepare. Then we moved to Chris. Jersey told her that he wouldn't be fooled by her words and untie her. Chris told him that that was good and that he was obviously smart, which angered Jersey again and he attacked her. Then he threw her on the ground, which released her restraints. Then a drone appeared from among the birds to monitor the oil platform, which belonged to Leland. Leland told Axel about the number of guards present and that they were all armed. Then we moved to Axel, who was on his way to the oil platform. When he arrived there, Douglas was ready to go to him as well. Axel entered the platform and Elena was guiding him from her location so that he could reach the network room so that she could contact them from the outside. Then one of the platform guards saw a ship approaching them and informed Anga, which led to Anga going to him. Then Axel managed to enter the control room. Then we moved to Jersey, who was continuing to beat Chris. He told her that the homeland didn't know yet that he had killed her, and that this would make her live longer, and Anga said she wanted to take care of this herself. Jersey showed his weapon and told her that anything could happen when interrogating traitors like her. But Jersey stopped when he heard a bell on the ship, and they also knew that a large ship was approaching them and that everyone should be on alert. Jersey asked them to go, but one of the guards told Jersey that Anga wanted her alive. You know that, don't you? But he felt afraid of Jersey's look at him and left. Then Axel succeeded in introducing his bracelet to the control room. We moved to Elena and she immediately hacked into the network. Then the ship collided with the oil platform, causing a large explosion. Douglas also approached the ship with his weapon. Then Anga distributed the guards to their places. Chris struck Jersey, who was surprised by this, but Jersey attacked her again and tried to slam her into the walls, but he didn't succeed in that. Chris struck him, causing Jersey to fall to the ground, and succeeded in releasing her restraints. Then we moved to Elena, and she informed them that she had found Chris and told them about her location. Then Axel moved to her quickly. Then one of the guards informed Anga that the ship was without a leader, and Anga quickly understood that it was a trap and asked them to search for the intruders, and directed blows at the platform and the guards. Axel continued to go to Chris and eliminated some of the guards that Leland had told him about, and Douglas helped him with this by approaching the platform. One of the guards tried to hit Douglas, but he was surprised by Leland's presence. Axel continued to eliminate the guards, and Jersey woke up and saw Axel and threatened him and went to meet him in the other direction and launched a surprise attack on Axel. When Leland saw that Axel had been attacked, he used his drone to help and get rid of one of the guards surrounding Axel. Axel launched attacks on Jersey, but Jersey physically overpowered Axel. Then Leland's location was revealed, and one of the guards opened fire on him, causing his boat to explode. Douglas went to Leland to help him immediately. The battle between Axel and Jersey continued. Jersey threw Axel into into the fire, but he was helped by Elena's controls and was saved from the fire, and she directed him in the right direction. After Axel finished eliminating one of the guards, Chris was behind him, but she was very tired. Then Axel supported her and asked her if she could walk. "Let's go." But Chris asked Axel why he was here and asked him to leave her because she didn't deserve to be saved. But Axel didn't care about her past or anyone else on the team and didn't want to hear anything from her. When the guards saw them heading towards them, he told her that he was saving her for his own sake. Then the oil platform exploded completely, and Axel asked Chris to stay here until he returned from eliminating these guards. Then Anga came to Chris and told her that over the past 3 years, she had been thinking about her and that she had been waiting for this moment to kill her. Chris agreed to be shot because she was always ready to die at Anga's hands. But Anga couldn't believe Chris because she was a traitor to her. When Chris saw Anga after 3 years, she couldn't move and remembered their meeting. After she changed her appearance and name, but she couldn't change her heart. Then Anga asked her why she had disappeared from her and left her behind. Then she told Chris that when she was at the airport in the past, her heart stopped beating and she was written down on the death list. But she survived and thought she could make everyone believe she was dead. By doing this, she could escape from the agency, and if she had managed to escape, they would have killed Angela. That's why she needed to be dead. She also remembered when they were close friends, and she asked her to run away, but Angela didn't agree to that. Then she returned to her present and told her that Angela had not given up on her death this time. When she aimed at her, Chris grabbed Angela's hand until Jersey arrived and told them that the traitor had to die. He fired, but Angela took the bullet and died in Chris's arms. Then Axel appeared and took care of Jersey. Next, we move to Elena, who is asking Axel to hurry because the platform is about to explode completely. Chris felt deep sadness for Angela after her death, but Angela told her that she was happy to see her, even if this was her last time. She asked her to go live her life for both of them, which caused Chris to feel internal pain amidst all the explosions. Then Axel went to Chris, took her, and jumped into the water before they could die from the explosions and the platform collapsing on them. He tried to swim to the surface but found it difficult. Douglas moved to save him, but Axel used his mind and was able to get out of the water easily, which surprised everyone. Everyone was saved, leading to Hasho and Elena's happiness. We moved to a man eating at a restaurant. The waiter approached him and asked why he always ordered meat every time he came to the restaurant. The man wanted to maintain an ideal physique, so he ordered meat because it contains a lot of protein. Then, we moved to Abel in his office, looking at a picture of him with skins, and he misses him. Then, his assistant came to him and told him about the arrival of the hearing committee soon, and also asked him if he was nervous. But Abel didn't feel worried, and the assistant expected this because they call him artificial intelligence. Then, he got up to leave with her. Then, we moved to Hasho's headquarters and to Chris's room. She woke up, and Elena was with her in the room taking care of her. Elena asked Chris if she was okay. Chris thought she was fine and tried to get up, but felt pain. Then, she thanked Elena, but Elena believes that they should help each other. Elena asked Chris about Axel. Elena knows he went shopping with Douglas. Then, Chris was surprised by the presence of the cat in her room, and she thought it had found a new place like home. Then, we moved to Axel and Douglas. After Axel bought the things he needed and joined Douglas in the car, Douglas closed the camera so that no one could hear them. Axel thought he was going to ask him on a date, and that this would be the last thing he would do. But this is bad for Douglas, even if he was the last person in the world. Then, Douglas asked Axel if after they find skins, will they get the freedom they were promised. But Axel thought this was very difficult because they knew too many of their secrets. Since Lazarus has separated from national security, they will protect them all. Douglas agreed with him on this and is sure that they are already trying to figure that out. Then, we move to Abel, who is going to attend the hearing committee. Abel met a friend from the army named Hayes and greeted him. Hayes was about to introduce Abel to his friend, but Hayes' friend entered the hall and will introduce himself later. After they entered, Abel's assistant asked about Hayes, and Abel told her that he is a leader in the army and that he was born to be a soldier. The other one is Schneider, a scientist from the intelligence division, and he doesn't know him much, but he knows that he is incredibly talented. Hasho was waiting for Abel in the hall. Then, the head of the committee spoke and said that they are now present to talk about the future of the AI accountants, Teams 5, known as Lazarus. Then, one of those present said that Team Lazarus was assembled for the purpose of capturing skins, and that he has concerns about their involvement in the shooting in the city, the helicopter crash, the massive fire in the temple, and the oil field fires in Russia. They confirmed this before. Regarding the oil field fire, Team Lazarus landed a strange military helicopter very close. No matter how you look at it, we can only conclude that Lazarus is involved in the above-mentioned incidents. Another man asked Abel for his opinion on this matter, but Abel did not object to this. A female official said that one of Lazarus's members was a former Russian agent. One of the men said that it is possible that he is leaking information to Russia. Another woman thought that this was another issue, and that this is a series of procedures not directly related to the capture of skins. Then, Schneider spoke, and wanted to see concrete evidence proving that Lazarus is definitely looking for skins, and that they were able to contact a member of Lazarus and convince him to testify. Then, the head of the committee asked to call the witness. Then, they opened the door, and Leland was the witness, which surprised Hasho and Abel's assistant. Then, we moved to Axel and Douglas. Douglas sees Leland carrying two different phones around, but he doesn't have any strong evidence, but he should keep this in mind. Then, we move back to the council, and the head of the committee asked Leland if he, as one of Lazarus's members, was monitoring their actions from the inside. When Leland answered that this was certain, the head of the committee asked him to confirm whether the operation in the Arctic was necessary to capture skins, but Leland told them that it was not for skins, but for Chris, and that it has no direct connection to skins. One of the officials saw that this operation escalated into an international incident that was launched to rescue one member of the team. Leland told them that it was of course to rescue Chris because she is indispensable to the team to catch skins. In other words, this operation is very important for the search for skins. The head of the committee asked Leland if it was okay even if it became an international incident. Leland said no, but their priority now is to catch skins. Then, Schneider asked if they were really searching for skins, or if they wanted to do something else, but Leland did not know any of these procedures. Then, Schneider asked about Axel, a member of their team, and that they do not have detailed information about him. Leland thought that the reason was that he was in prison, and no one knew this, and that he also escaped several times. So they are deliberately hiding the information. Schneider was surprised that he escaped from prison several times, but this is what Leland knows. Then, the head of the committee asked Leland to leave now, and his testimony ended. The president saw that the intentions of Team Lazarus were good, but they also caused many crimes. Then, one of the men entered the hall and told them that Skins had published a new clip. Then, we move to Chris as she tries to organize her clothes and finds a strange pill, and remembers that she has seen it before. Then, we move to the streets where the Skins clip is being spread, and Skins told them about Moreau, 20 days from Bane's first day, and that the world government is acting like nothing happened. They continue to fight over water in the Arctic, and they are close to war. Everyone in all locations listened to him. Then he told them that their most important subject is Hapna, and that they will start to die within 10 days. If they don't find him in this period, they will be lost forever, and that the matter is up to you. After Skins' segment ended, Abel laughed a lot, and said that he had the same feeling as Skins, and everything he wanted to say, Skins had spoken about and said everything. He told them that there was no time for this nonsense, especially since teammates have been pulled and shot, and he doesn't know what's good about this, but they are one step away from Skins' location. And if they solve Team Lazarus and don't find Skins, who will bear the responsibility for the end of the world? Then, the president pronounced the verdict, which is the continuation of Lazarus in searching for Skins, and gave them a period of 10 days. By this time, he asked Abel to catch Skins. Then Abel confirmed this to him. Then we moved to the parking garage, and Hayes was with Schneider. Schneider talked about Axel escaping from prison, but there are no records to prove this. Schneider believes that the records were hidden by a hacker. Schneider has no option but to take precautions. But Hayes is confident in Abel and that he is fully capable. But Schneider has a plan, which is to send someone no one knows, and he will be like a ghost, which made Hayes wonder about this. Then we moved to the judgment hall in the garage, and Abel was meeting with Hashu and his assistant until Leland came out. Hashu approached him and jokingly punched him because she thought he was going to tell the committee chairman everything. But Leland was joking, and it was on Abel's orders. Hashu asked Abel why he didn't tell her about this, because Abel believes that if he wants to deceive the enemy, he must deceive his allies first. Then he apologized to Hashu. Then the assistant asked Leland if the Army Intelligence Division had contacted him, but Leland didn't know who contacted him. Hashu saw that they thought Leland had turned against them, and they didn't know that you were a close friend of Abel and that he was basically his father. Then we moved to the man again, and he received a phone call and received a new assignment. Then we moved to Hashu's headquarters, and Douglas was sad because the first to die will be Skins, and he doesn't believe this. Then Chris and Elena joined them, and Elena told them that they had seen Skins' statement and also knew that he had not taken the antidote. Chris saw that they didn't have time to waste anymore, but Douglas had no other leads. Then Chris showed them the pill and asked them if they knew anything about it. Douglas asks what kind of treatment this is. Then Leland came to them, but he didn't enter the headquarters and kept looking at them from the outside. Then we moved to Hayes and Schneider, who are waiting for the man. Then he came to them at the specified time and greeted them, and introduced himself to them and that his name is Achiko, and he is Suryo's agent. He gave Hayes an identification card, and then stood away from them because they don't want to reveal their true identity. But the most important thing for Achiko is to get accurate and truthful information regarding the target. Schneider asks about Suryo, what kind of person is he, and that he is known as the Phantom Killer, but Achiko doesn't know anything about Suryo's past and that he is only his agent. But he met him himself, and he will accept any job, but Schneider heard some rumors that Suryo's fees are very high. Achiko told them about 30 million at the time and asked to waive the tax, which shocked Hayes, and this is what Schneider heard from the rumors. But Hayes saw that since he will pay a lot of money, then he should test Suryo. But Achiko said to Hayes, if you mean a test, and told him that he doesn't mind this, whatever the results of the test. But as soon as the test begins, the transfer process will begin. Then Hayes asked about the test date, and Achiko told him that the date is on the back of the card. Then he left. Then we moved to the test location, and there were many policemen heading to it. Suryo was waiting for them. Then the helicopter discovered Suryo's location, and some soldiers climbed up to him through the stairs. Then they entered the room he was staying in, but they didn't find him inside. Suddenly, Suryo pulled one of the soldiers up, which made the other soldiers be careful. Then he stuck a knife in another soldier. After that, the soldiers opened fire on him. Then it stopped. Then Suryo threw the rope at one of the soldiers, which made him fire at his friends. He cut off the head of one of the soldiers using the rope. Then he dropped the tied soldier to the ground and killed 2 of the soldiers alone. After that, he threw the knife at the last soldier in the room, which led to his head being cut off. Then the rest of the soldiers approached the room, but Suryo began to attack them and struck them with his weapon, which led to them falling to the ground. Then one of the other soldiers fired at him, but Suryo dodged the bullets and eliminated them. After that, and with all agility, he threw the knife at one of the soldiers, which led to his death. Then he landed on the rest of the soldiers and struck them with his weapon and eliminated them one after the other. Then he succeeded in the groups that were in the other building and tied them up and strangled them with the rope he had. After he finished, he stopped the specified time that ended in. Then the last soldier came and entered the building and found the rest of his friends dead and felt a great shock. Then Achiko came from behind him and said that Suryo has gone to the sea for a little bit now and photographed the dead to Hayes. Hayes was surprised that he had killed everyone alone. Then Schneider immediately sent the target to Achiko, which is Axel. The newspapers reported that only 6 days remain until the start of deaths based on Skin's instructions to them. A rapid increase in fever diseases has appeared worldwide, and everyone believed it was the effect of Habna. Hospitals were overflowing with patients, causing great pressure on doctors. The country's president spoke and asked the infected to recover at home and not go to hospitals. He then presented information about the economy and a complete downturn, which led to the closure of several stock exchanges. It was also reported that banks and post offices were all closed with no specific time for reopening. One media person thought it difficult to believe this day could be our last day of life. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters, where Douglas told them about the results of the analysis he conducted on what Chris found in Skin's room. Chris asked if they were lucky and if it could be a treatment for Habna, but Deland didn't believe this. Douglas discovered it was an antiplatelet medication that prevents blood clotting, primarily used by patients with artificial hearts. Axel believed Skins had an artificial heart, but Hasho knew he had struggled with a heart condition for some time but never heard he had an artificial heart. Axel thought Skins might have gotten an artificial heart during the past 3 years. Douglas thought it would be difficult to undergo major surgery without anyone noticing. Elena extracted all medical files from hospitals that performed artificial heart surgeries in the past 3 years, but found no matches. Douglas asked what kind of tricks were used this time. Axel thought Skins found a brilliant surgeon from the underworld to perform this surgery, but Hasho believed he had the surgery at a secret hospital serving only the influential elite. She told them about a hospital guaranteeing complete privacy in exchange for incredibly high medical fees, completely unknown to the general public, with direct referral supposedly being the only way to enter. After searching through Elena, no traces of such a place were found in the medical network. Chris asked if this place actually existed or was just an urban legend. Leland suddenly left them, surprising the others. He changed his clothes and returned, asking Axel and Douglas to accompany him. Douglas asked about Leland's special outfit, but Leland had a way to get in. Then we moved to Achiko, receiving a call from Axel for identification. Then to Axel, Leland, and Douglas on their way to Leland's house. After entering, Leland's assistant came out to greet them. Douglas was surprised this was Leland's home. The assistant told them the exit was in that direction, but Leland said they were his roommates. Leland's assistant immediately apologized and welcomed them to the Astor family mansion. As they entered the mansion, Axel asked about the Astor family. Douglas told him they were an aristocratic family for centuries. They sat in the living room until Leland's sister arrived, and told him he had returned after a long time, calling him the prodigal son. Leland welcomed her, but his sister wasn't happy about his return and called him an outcast. He told her he came today to humbly ask for a favor, which angered his sister. She said he appeared after 4 years to ask them for a favor and asked what it was, looking at Douglas and Axel, asking if it was fraud or theft. Then she asked what he wanted from her. She told him their father had made great efforts to get him into a good school, but he did nothing but ruin it. Leland apologized, saying he knew he had caused a lot of trouble. Then he asked if she could tell him about the member-restricted medical association used by the Astor family. This surprised his sister, who asked what he was planning this time. She asked how the only remaining man in the family could be an outcast and miserable like him, and that the male inheritance tradition was old and should have been cancelled by their father while he was still alive. Douglas thought they shouldn't be there at that moment. Leland told his sister that if she wanted to get married, she should do so, which angered his sister Isabel. She told him she hadn't agreed to a list of men because they wanted her money, and threw pillows at him. She approached him and slapped him several times, telling him he knew nothing about what she went through. She told him to take his position in the Astor family, and then he wouldn't need to ask her for anything. All the information he wanted would be his. But Leland didn't want this because he was treated like a parasite since childhood. His father never spent nice time with him and didn't attend his mother's funeral. But Isabel saw that their father couldn't publicly attend his mistress's funeral, so Leland didn't bother to attend his funeral, taking revenge through this. Isabel told him to stop talking and that if he didn't come to take the family position, she asked him to leave. Then she left the room. Douglas asked why he asked them to come with him here. Axel thought he wanted them to see what happened. Leland's assistant approached and told him that Isabel had been eagerly waiting for him more than anyone else, despite what she said. When she heard he had come, she became happier than she had been in a long time. Then Isabel returned and asked him why it always ended this way. She told herself she wouldn't get into any argument today. On the anniversary of their father's death, there was a white carnation on his grave, and she asked if it was from him. He told her he had placed it there. She agreed to give him the information he wanted, but in return, he would spend the weekend with her because the world was going to everyone and everything would end in a few days, so why not? He could bear spending one weekend with her. This was her condition for introducing him to their special doctors, but Leland told her he would return to her next Sunday. Isabel asked why next Sunday, and if he hadn't seen the news yet. He explained that the reason for requesting this information was to ensure they all get a quiet Sunday too, and he begged her to help him. Then we moved to Uchiko as he's eating his meal at his favorite restaurant. The waiter then brought him the rest of the food, and there was a fortune paper among them. Then we moved to Leland, who's in a meeting with his family's private doctor. After that, the doctor came out to him and welcomed him warmly and canceled all her appointments for his sake. Then we moved to Abel's office where Hasho was with him, and he showed her a video and asked her to confirm something for him. Abel told her it was a video of part of the events at Chevelle Airport, but she thought all the videos had been confiscated by the US military. But Abel got data from backup copies through an insider informant, and these people tend to appear when the end of the world is just days away. Then Hasho was surprised when she saw Skinner, and Abel told her he was there 12 minutes before the incident. Hasho confirmed it was him, but Abel thought Skinner was there trying to smuggle the first prototype of Hapna. Hasho believed Skinner wanted to leak his presence to the public, and Abel saw that this was the problem now. Then we moved to Leland at the hospital with the doctor. The doctor then showed her cigarettes, and told them she had stopped smoking for a while but couldn't continue because she found no point in resisting when the world was about to end. Then Leland asked if they were looking for Skinner, and asked her if he had undergone heart surgery at this hospital. He knew she shouldn't tell him this information, but this was the only lead they had that could lead them to Skinner, and he asked for her help greatly. Then she told him that at his father's funeral, he came to see something in a corner of the church and no one noticed him, but she understood. Even after his trouble with the law and his break with the Astor family, she knew he was a good-hearted child and thought this stage wasn't for hiding secrets from any agent or patient. She had been waiting for someone to come and ask her about this too because she couldn't take a secret like this to the grave. Then we moved to Abel's office, and he told her that Skinner was surrounded by police and military, but when one of the passengers accidentally dropped his bag, they shot at Skinner, which caused gas to leak from his bag that interfered with the cameras. Hasho wondered if Skinner had been arrested by military intelligence, and Abel thought that's what happened. Hasho saw that the reports about this being a terrorist attack with biochemical weapons were lies. Abel told her since they knew Skinner was smuggling the first prototype of Hapna, this must have been the gas that leaked from his bag during the shooting. Hasho thought the first prototype was strong enough to kill people instantly upon contact. Then she told him when Skinner returned to the lab after 3 months, he was a completely different person and shut himself off emotionally, not allowing anyone to get close to him. But Hapna appeared somewhere else unexpected. Hasho asked where, and Abel told her it was at Amon Prison in Arizona, the exact same place where Axel was imprisoned at the same time. Then we moved back to the hospital, and the doctor told them that Skinner underwent artificial heart surgery at this hospital too. Post-surgery expectations were good, but you can never be sure what will happen with an artificial heart because all modern artificial hearts are designed so heartbeats can be monitored continuously. Douglas thought they could track Skinner through this, but the doctor was supposed to monitor Skinner's data. But as soon as he left the hospital, he encrypted the transmission and made it untraceable. They didn't know his location or even if he was alive. Then she threw the fixed device for the transmission system to Leland, saying that by analyzing it, they would discover something special, and if a third party was monitoring him. When they prepared to leave, the doctor told Leland that his father lost his life in that disaster, but she saw it was important that he survived it. He should know his father talked about him a lot and said he was the one who resembled him most, and that he could communicate with him more than he thought since he gave him a hard time. And she remembered him when he said this. Then Axel asked Leland to hurry. The doctor asked them when they catch Skinner to bring him to this hospital because as a treating physician, she shouldn't let Skinner die like this. Then they moved to Hasho's headquarters, and Leland thanked them for accompanying him and told them he wanted to tell them something. Leland was surprised that Axel knew he was a spy. Axel saw they were here under questionable circumstances, and it wasn't surprising that any of them would keep a secret or two. Leland started crying, but Axel asked him to stop. Then they went in, and Elena discovered that the heart monitoring device was still active. Although it wouldn't lead them directly to Skinner, they could use it to find the place where he was being monitored. Then we moved to Abel's office, and he told Hasho that at this time, Amon Prison was forcing all death row and life sentence inmates to take new drugs as part of secret experiments. Hasho thought Axel was one of those prisoners who underwent this, and Abel confirmed this, but the results hadn't appeared yet, and there were no documents about what happened to the prisoners after that. Then Hasho saw that Axel was living proof of their experiment, but Abel lost contact with the only witness who had the information, the prison doctor. Hasho thought Axel knew this doctor. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters. Then Axel received a call asking him to go protect a witness now. Then Chris asked what they were doing, but Leland told her nothing much. Then she told him his eyes were red because he cried a lot, which made Leland feel embarrassed. Then Axel came to them and told them he received a call from Hasho asking him to secure someone. Then Elena found Bingo and told Douglas his location. He was in Islamabad, Pakistan. Douglas remembered this was the place the cyber attacks on the pharmaceutical company came from. Elena told him it was the popcorn wizard they had chased before. Douglas almost contacted the local police, but Elena stopped him because the popcorn wizard moves constantly and would escape again if they chased him like this. The only way to locate him in real time was for her to go there herself because this would be their last chance. Then Douglas asked if she realized the risks, and she confirmed she wanted to do it. Then Douglas agreed, but with one condition: he would go with her, which excited Elena greatly. Then we moved to Axel as he's on his way to secure the person assigned to him. He contacted Hasho in the car, and she told him the drug he took in prison was the first prototype of Hapna, and probably everyone who took it already died. But Axel escaped after the secret experiment ended, so obviously he didn't know anything. But the person involved in this who's still alive is the prison doctor who served there. While Axel was on his way, Suryo was waiting for him. Then Axel told Hasho he had a good relationship with him. Then Hasho asked him to ensure his safety, which surprised Axel that he was the only one who hadn't died yet. Then Suryo showed a bomb from his pocket. On the other side, Douglas and Elena took off in their private plane to Pakistan, and Douglas asked Elena if everything was okay. Elena told him she was fine. Then we moved to Axel, and the road he was traveling on had a big accident, and Suryo was on his way to him.